Hello, my name's Tim Remley, and I'm here to show you Blender, Unity, and Steam VR. I'll describe how we develop in the virtual reality development pipeline. The first step is to use Blender to create your character, your mesh, your skeleton, and your animations. So here's Blender. We start with a simple 2D drawing, character in a T-pose. It's just an image that I sketched by hand. And here's the left side of the Apple Man. So we simply create a plane in 2D space. We lay it on the image, just put it in a position here, and this plane gets extruded into other planes to create our mesh. So we just kind of extrude the edge into a new face, rotate it a little bit, extrude it down, rotate it, and eventually you end up with a full 3D mesh. So here's the face after we've extruded many edges. And see, in 3 dimensions, we kind of pull the points to get the shape that we want. Eventually, we abandon the 2D drawing and we just rely on our 3D modeling skills. So I'm just moving these points into place the best I can. You see it's kind of a jagged mesh right now. I'll show you how to smooth that out in a minute. After a while, we end up with the Apple Man. Just the mesh, just faces and edges and vertices. We add a subdivision surface modifier in to smooth him out so he looks better. Go ahead and switch over to object mode so you can see he's nice and smooth now. Next step is to color him. So we have to unwrap the 3D mesh. So we'll focus on this leg just to show you what it looks like. We'll separate the leg away from the rest of the body so that we can unwrap it from 3 dimensions into 2 dimensions. And then we color on that unwrapped UV map. So here we go, unwrap, and you can see the foot there on the right is kind of spread out and splayed into 2 dimensions on the left. Fast forward here and show you a fully unwrapped Apple Man, all his parts. I'm showing you that you can kind of color on the left and see that it shows up on the right, or you can color on the right and see that it shows up on the left. But the point is, we're actually painting on the 2D image. This is an example of a stencil. Just take an image of an apple skin and kind of spray it onto Appleman, and you get what looks like real apple texture on your mesh. Appleman is fully painted. Now we got to put some bones in him. So we spend quite a bit of time adding bones to the mesh. Now they're just bones. They're parented together. So we start at the spine and we add bones all the way out to the hands and feet. Zoom in on the hand here. You can just see you can duplicate a bone just to show that it's quite simply a little transform there. But what we do then is we map the mesh to each bone in vertex groups. So this is the vertex group for the end of the finger there. There's the middle of the finger, moving up the hand there. And when we move the bones, because they know what mesh they're associated with, the mesh moves as well. So we have a character move as we move the bones. Okay, so when we take a lot of time and we rig the whole character up, we end up with a fully posable character, which we'll use to animate. But before we get into a little animation, I'll show you some shape keys that I've created. Let's move the leg up here for you and just show you that we can have a fully articulated skeleton, and of course he still has color. Alright, so with the shape keys, we can make him smile, we can make him open his mouth, we can make him blink. Now that was all created earlier. These shape keys are basically pulling the mesh in different directions and recording it. Now we've moved to the animation view, and you can see that just by keying a few poses, you see I've only keyed these intermediate poses every few seconds, and the computer interpolates the position between, and it looks like he's dizzy. We also have one of him walking here I can show you. So there's a nice animation of Appleman walking. Now the video game that we're making here, this virtual reality game, uses Unity. So here's Unity. This is just Unity Personal Edition I downloaded for free off the internet. And I'm pulling down the Steam VR plugin so I can use Unity on my HTC Vive, excuse me. So I import the Steam VR plugin, and it brings in a lot of great assets for me for free. Steam provides this free of charge, and it has some core VR components. I'll drag in Appleman from Blender, just the Angry Apple file here from Blender. I just drug it in from Windows Explorer, and you see that Unity automatically imports it. So there's Appleman, brought in from Blender to Unity. And I have a wizard here. I can generate colliders for Appleman. It'll tell Unity where his boundaries are so we can collide in the game. Unity does a good job with humanoid characters. It actually knows where the bones are that I created in Unity because of the naming. And you can see that looks pretty familiar. Inside of Unity, we have the bones that we created in Blender. So let's go ahead and show you the animations that came in from Blender. Now, it's one really long continuous animation that I have. I have to break that up into smaller animations within Unity, and I'll do that real quick later. Here's a simple scene that I created. You can see I put a table in that I created in Blender and just imported much like I did Appleman. You also see a bowl here I created. It's a fruit bowl because we have angry fruit chasing us in the game. So I also created a green Appleman and a yellow Appleman and a red one. You saw me working on the red one in Blender. I can just change out the colors pretty easy to get them to show in Unity. Okay, so now here's the actual game. I have my HTC Vive on, and you can see I programmed Appleman to chase me, and I can chuck him across the room. Here's a yellow guy. You can see he's pretty mad. I also programmed him so if I throw him 3 times, they'll die. You can see there's the shape key I programmed to close his eyes when you pick him up. I also programmed it such that his eyes will follow you when you pick him up, or actually throughout the room. It kind of chases you around the room. So we'll pick up this guy, look at him, watch his eyes, gonna follow me, pretty creepy. So I'll chuck him. Then we'll see the yellow one, same deal. So as I'm holding him, it's firing events. The VR system knows where the controllers are in my hands, tells Unity where that is, and the colliders pick up that I've grabbed Appleman, and in turn I trigger the animation. I set a boolean. Here he comes running at us. I set a boolean that I'll show you in a minute that kind of allows the Unity engine to transition between animation, and there I threw him enough times. I killed him. Here goes the green guy. All right, so there you go. We brought him in from Blender. We animated him. Here's the animator I was talking about. It's a state machine inside of Blender. Here you can see that when the event on attached to hand is fired, we set a boolean is held equal true, and in the state machine he'll transition from idle to the flailing animation when is held is true. So that's the long and short of animations and bringing your character into Unity. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, please come see me. Here's a bit of the code that I used to close his eyes. Thank you very much. Have a good day.